Sony CFO says its live service shift is not going and is not entirely going smoothly, but pledges to carry on and learn from its mistakes. This article is very interesting because in the conversation, Lin Tao says, last year Concord shut down and this year Marathon was postponed, so somewhat negative news has been coming out. Do y'all remember that Herman Hulst said that the feedback that they got, well, I just dropped my phone, from Marathon was mixed? Do y'all remember? We got a mixed response or something like that, mixed feedback. He used the word to kind of dampen it down in this fireside chat that they did on June 13th. Well, that was actually released on June 13th. Now, there are conversations about it. This particular one right here, he said that the reactions that, they learned from the feedback. I don't know if you guys remember. He go back and watch it. You hear it for yourself. So now to see, Lin Tao, the CFO of Sony, come out and talk about this and said, negative news has been coming out via the interpreter. But if we look at the past 5 years, 5 years ago, live service games were almost non-existent for PlayStation Studios. And then she said this: we now have Helldivers 2, MLB The Show, Gran Turismo 7, wait. MLB The Show? MLB's wanted it. MLB The Show is a live service game? I didn't know that. Is MLB The Show a live service game? Hold on. Is it? Baseball video game. I don't think I've ever categorized, nor have I understood this game to be a live service game. This is the very first time in this statement from her that I have heard this. And I read the statement in another video of mine, and I was just talking about it briefly, but then I had to come back and reflect and said, this is crazy. Tao had earlier noted during Sony's result presentation that live service games accounted for around 40% of first-party software revenue the past quarter, and cited this again in her reply. What? For the Q1, the live service ratio was about 40% for the full year. It's a little less, probably between 2013, she said. So in terms of transformation, it's not entirely going smoothly, but from a larger term perspective, if you look at the changes over 5 years, you see that there's definitely been a change. I made videos a while ago telling you that PlayStation was going to pivot heavily into its live service efforts because they announced it to everybody. To that, particular conversation, I got a lot of feedback, and some people are saying, well, no, they just increased their entire budget and also then just increased, the live service budget as well. But I was like, hold on. What it seemed to me was like they allocated 60% of their development budget to live service games. That's what they specifically noted when they were talking about this. If we look back at the articles that were written at the time, right? It's obvious that this particular move was designed to start slowly shifting a lot more of their investment dollars into live services. If we look at VG Chart's article here from back then, it says Sony to invest more in live service games than traditional games starting this fiscal year. Some people said, well, no, they increased their single player. I'm like, well, hold on. It says they were going to increase, more into live service game than traditional. Sony Interactive President Jim Ryan, in a presentation during Sony's business segment meetings, revealed PlayStation will be investing more in live service games than traditional games starting the fiscal year. Just 12% of the game investment into the PS5 was for live service games, while the remaining 88% were for traditional games. For the current fiscal year, which ends March 31st, 2024, the percentage of total investment into live service game will be 55% compared to 45% for traditional games. Live service investment will grow to an expected 60% in the fiscal year 2025, while percent spent on traditional games will shrink to 40%. The overall amount of money invested into PS5 business model will increase over the coming years. The total amount spent on traditional games in the fiscal year 2023 will be lower than the fiscal year 2029. However, it will increase in the 2025 fiscal year to a bit higher than it was in 2029 fiscal year. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, that's what you guys were talking about. This is according to Sony's internal projections. The amount of money in the gaming industry projected to spend on full digital games is expected to decrease over the coming years. Wow. In 2022 to 7.4 billion in 2026. So they were actually projecting a reduction, and they've been seeing that reduction, by the way. However, in some quarters, they've been seeing some really interesting numbers as well. While the amount spent on add-on content is expected to grow from 11 to 19 billion. Subscriptions are also expected to grow from 8.2 billion in 2022 to 12 billion in 2026. So they were betting on this at the end of the day with all these live service games. And at the end of the day, right now, the CFO was saying that this has not necessarily gone according to what we would love for it to go. There's still, of course, we recognize that there's still many issues. So we should learn the lessons from mistakes and make sure that we introduce live service content where there's less waste and it's more smooth. They're gonna force feed you that live service game that you on Twitter weren't asking for, simply because that's where the money is. They understand exactly where this whole business has been going for a long time. I think what they probably did was, as they were, ending the 2019, the PS4 generation, and this was, in my opinion, very tactful. It made a lot of sense when they went ahead and ended that generation. They went out with a big bang, a bunch of single player games. They easily steamrolled their way into PS5 with a lot of people saying, "Yep, we're gonna buy the PS5 device." Those of you that like playing single player games on PlayStation, myself included, right? However, when we saw their leak, it just now makes a whole lot of sense when Insomnia got hacked, that they were always looking for finding ways to be multi-platform, extend onto PC and mobile is what they wrote at the time. But with linked out talking about MLB The Show being a live service game, they were already expanding into Xbox as well, even way before. Or maybe now they want to convert MLB The Show into a live service game and possibly leverage that as a recurring income stream by improving the community-based aspect and severing such a distinction between both games. That would have been the sensible piece. Almost every sports game has this particular paradigm, at least to an extent. How they did not think about this, well, again, I guess their focus was so much on deleting Xbox from the conversation that they probably were not aware that they could actually leverage and make money here. Maybe they thought by now Xbox would be out of the business and they'll basically have free reign to just then go ahead and do what it is that they want to do. But I don't think that's how it played out. I strongly believe that they were counting on Xbox being dead by this generation. I think that was probably spoken of somewhere, and that probably backfired heavily, as Xbox seriously is now the contender in terms of pursuing the live service game. Check it out. So she says, so we have these games, these 4 live services contributing to sales and profits in a stable manner. Wow. I can't imagine that Fair Games is not going to be launched. I think it will be. Some people are saying it's probably going to be canceled. I don't know if they have that much cancellation tolerance. It's a lot of money spent. So I strongly believe that they're going to probably go ahead and find ways, to continue with the development of that project. But these are just my thoughts. Talk to me in the comment section. I'd love to hear what it is that you guys think. Hopefully we'll talk pretty soon in another one. Peace out.